UFC 217, Junk in the Highlander here. Let's be bold. So, I don't normally buy pay-per-views. I'm obsessed with the fights, dedicated. All I think about is martial arts. Mostly what I watch is martial arts, but I don't normally pay for pay-per-views. That's just what it is. I've paid for a very small number. The ones that come to mind, Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen 2. Had to purchase that. UFC 200 I purchased. And I may have purchased Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman too. I'm not 100% certain about that one. I may or may not have purchased that. I don't think I did. I don't feel like I saw that live. What else did I get? Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, and Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Oh, and GSP versus Carlos Condit. All right, those are all fights that I needed to watch live. This event, UFC 217, is another one of those fights that just needed to be purchased live. Not exclusively for the main event, but the whole card, top to bottom, is stacked. It's just a great card. So, starting with the main event, I feel like the big reason why everyone thinks it's kind of weird, why no one's super excited for this fight, is number one, the way it was announced was weird. Obviously, they didn't have a fight date, yada yada. You've already heard other people say that. But the other thing is that you're expecting GSP to fight in the welterweight division. Alright? And he hasn't fought at middleweight ever. And when we did want to see him fight at middleweight, we wanted to see him fight Anderson Silva. We never thought about him fighting Michael Bisping, number one. So there's all that, which just seems weird. Then on the Michael Bisping front, the way... I don't even have a problem with him. I feel like he is the legitimate champion. I don't feel like he's illegit, but he's kind of Tyron Woodley'd it, where he won the belt in a very legitimate style, but then after that has defended it against Dan Henderson, and now is going to defend it against George St. Pierre. That's what seems kind of weird. So it doesn't feel like George St. Pierre is fighting a legitimate middleweight champion, even though he is, but it doesn't have that longevity, whereas at the time, the fight that we wanted to see was somebody who had 9 title defenses, 7 title defenses, versus someone who had 10, 11 title defenses. So it was a fight that really had a lot built up to it. This fight doesn't really have that, doesn't feel like that. So there's that, right? So that's, I think, the big reason why no one's really super hyped about it. But I think the thing that we should think about this fight that really was brought to my attention, I want to say in the episode of the MMA Beat, I don't know if that's a show that you guys have heard about, probably have, but in one of the last episodes, I want to say that's what it was. If not, maybe I heard it someplace else, but somebody mentioned that this is a fight between the number one person who has the most wins in the UFC and the person who has the second most wins in the UFC. I feel like that's a selling point right there. If that's not something that gets you interested, I don't know what else to say. They're literally the person who has the most wins in the UFC ever, Michael Bisping, versus the person who has the second most wins in the UFC ever, George St. Pierre. I feel like that is super, I don't know, something about that just really stands out. I think that's an awesome moment. So there's that. That's what gets me all jazzed up about that fight. Obviously, to see what things may have changed with George St. Pierre. Look at the prison. Pause. But obviously, seeing what things may have changed with George St. Pierre, that fight against Michael Bisping, super interesting. Besides that, from top to bottom, another fight that people haven't been talking as much about is Jorge Masvidal versus Wonderboy Thompson. That's a fight I'm super excited about because Jorge he can do everything. Obviously, you've heard everybody say that. He can do all the kicks, all the punches, yada yada. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is an expert in his karate style with his kicks and his distances. I'm just super interested in seeing how something like that is going to work out, especially because my last fight... Wait, one more time. Check this out, guys. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. That chick was cute. But Where were we? But yeah, so one of the big things, like I said, in my last fight I was fighting a more karate style opponent, someone who specialized in one thing, whereas I have the ability to throw kicks as well, but am more well-rounded, I guess, or more rounded in my approach or whatnot. But versus someone who is very specialized. That's kind of the fight that we're going to see here. Jorge Masvidal can throw kicks. I'm sure he can throw all those techniques as well, but he's not going to be as specialized as Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is in that field. So I'm curious as to how he's going to be able to use his skills to make the fight his fight.